the award ceremony for our spring member show, where it finally feels like we are entering the spring season here at Circle Gallery. We may actually just skip spring altogether and go to summer. I'm not quite sure. My name is Ann Cole, and I'm the Executive Director for the Maryland Federation of Art. First of all, I want to thank all of our members who submitted their work for the spring member show. As you know, we have 4 member shows each year, and it's exciting to see our members' work hanging in the gallery, showing the geographical reach of our members and all of the different media in which our members work. As I think many of you know, this year, there were 427 pieces submitted for consideration as part of the spring member show. And the entrants came from over 12 states. So we were very excited to see everything that ends up here in the gallery. I hope each of you does take the opportunity, though, to come by Circle Gallery to see the show in person and to definitely come to the closing reception, which will be held on May 28th from 4 to 6. I'm really happy to introduce our juror for this show, Mark Anderson. Mark is an artist and an adjunct lecturer of painting and drawing at Georgetown University and a drawing instructor with the Art League of Alexandria. Please visit his website to learn more about his work, which includes some very interesting figurative drawings and paintings incorporating many different materials. Mark, please take it away.
Well, I just want to say thank you. It's been an honor and a privilege to be able to look at so much good quality work. And it was actually a really difficult process, just choosing certain works to be shown. I wish that that I could have, selected a lot more work to be shown. There was a lot of really high quality, just beautiful, powerful work. So it was really a treat to be able to look at so much good work. That's pretty much all I have to say here to start with. Thank you. The wide range of work included in this exhibition is evidence of the broad scope of aesthetic interests within the vibrant Maryland Federation of Art community. It was a privilege to serve as the juror for this show and to view such an abundance of quality work. I wish that I could have selected more for exhibition. I felt a gravitational pull when viewing many of these works. There were so many elegantly designed works that surprised and even confused me at first glance, grabbing my attention as I searched for additional visual clues. There are powerful works in the exhibition that seem to be deeply personal, conveying vulnerability and pain. Clever image layering could be read as nostalgic in one work and futuristic in another. Elegantly manipulated media was abundant. I was truly impressed by the high level of technical skill and ambition on display. The sophisticated arrangement of color and texture in some of the works was mesmerizing, running in front of and oftentimes disguising the subject. It is reassuring to see such powerful art being made during these stressful times of the pandemic. This show was a reflection of how people can find beauty everywhere, even in places where it is not being sought. Yeah.
Very nice.
So I actually get the pleasure of giving the very first award, which is the Conley Award. The Conley Award is awarded in every member show, and it is given to a piece of 3D work and given by 2 members, Susie and Rob Conley. And this year, they have chosen Abundance 2 by Kenzie Rollin and Ruth Losner as the winner of the Conley Award for the spring member show.
Sure. So it was hard to whittle it down, like I said, but this is the first of the honorable mentions that that I selected, the reason why this work grabbed me was just thinking in terms of the just the color and the texture, but also the feeling of the sort of the appearance of this sort of feeling of reflection of the sky, but at the same time, what was there underneath these washes of green also felt like something other. So it felt like like maybe plants, or it felt like flowers, and I just thought that it was really interesting to see an element that worked as a reflection, but also worked as sort of something else that was sort of hidden or concealed to a certain degree. And then also the texture and the paint application was also just beautifully applied. So this piece by Tracy Lambros definitely was one that grabbed me. So it's one of those pieces that makes me want to learn more about how it was made, when how gold was used, and how some of these other metallic pigments and things were incorporated within the piece, if they were an underlying layer, if they were actually added in. Just to learn more about how it was actually made would be nice too. So I'm looking forward to being at the closing ceremony and getting to see these things up close and in person. So. Right. This is a piece. This is actually a really small piece, and I was actually surprised when I first looked at this piece. I was surprised at how small it was. This piece by Mary Ellen, and the other thing that I noticed was that it was a mixed media piece, and I was wondering like which media was being used and how it was being layered or combined, it just had a very meditative and peaceful quality to it. I really appreciated the effects as far as the reflection in the sky, and even the little bits of edge tension where, on the edges of forms where the water was sort of bent and manipulated the surface tension to where it meets the leaves, little things like that were carefully seen. And then just the color too as well, and just this all over sort of filling the picture plane texture. Was just really nice to see. So another piece that I would like to learn more about. But yeah, beautiful piece. And this is the third one I chose. This is by Jane Mann, Traveler's Dream, and I think Jane might actually be here. So if after I talk about it a little, if she wants to chime in and explain more, and then I can actually learn more about how the piece was developed, that'd be great too. So this piece I selected, one was for just its initial impact of color and texture, and also the thing that was really interesting to me was the central figure didn't even appear to me at first, so it was an element of surprise. So having that element of surprise was really interesting as well, and then also just trying to figure out through the noise of all of this texture what was going on with, is that an architectural space? Is he walking towards a doorway? Is he walking towards a building? This person has a cane or a walking stick. What does this sort of mean? And then also just the beautiful layering of textures, especially in like the bottom half here, where there's these various layers and various washes or buildups of color and texture, which is this beautiful visual noise that starts to appear is really interesting. And then also the top half, these sort of columns, it almost feels like pixelation in a way, but then also it could feel like a mosaic. So it's just really interesting, and I'm really curious as to how this piece was, the meaning behind this piece, and sort of how it was developed. So if the next piece is by Guy Terry Kuhn, and this piece was just. This is also a piece that for its size and for the media that's being used, it's a drawing with pencil, ink, and acrylic. Is just the level of detail, and also just the level of precision. Like for anyone who's ever painted or drawn circles, and to draw so many of them and have them all be so carefully developed, it's a very, and then on top of that, there's areas of this composition where there's like a bit of manipulation of space, and there's also this contrast as far as scale goes. I also get the feeling of eyes looking at me, like lots and lots of eyes, which is sort of, it sort of engages the viewer. There's a little bit of a confrontational feel to it for me, but also just the level of skill. There's just all the stippling and the careful application of texture is really beautifully. Really beautifully developed. I can see, having been someone who's done like stippled drawings in the past, I know how much time and how much energy. And I was just thinking as far as meditation and these beautiful these just beautiful I was also thinking of math and all, it'd be also really interesting to learn how these images were developed and maybe some of the meaning that's behind them as well. So yeah, very beautiful drawing. This is another honorable mention, and this is a painting that I really enjoyed looking at for a number of reasons, by Lauren Litwa. So the one thing that really grabbed me at first was the central figure of some sort of, like, it seems like some sort of chimney or something like that. But the way that the paint was applied and this sort of like textural application of maybe an underlying ground that the paint is laid on top of. Also, the way that the paint is sort of broken up and there's these windows left to the building process of the paint. Looks like there's a mixture between direct painting where paint is applied directly, and then also sort of paint left to dry, and then sort of a processed or glazed approach sort of worked into certain areas too. And then as far as looking into the piece, I really love the geometry of it, and I love the proportions and the composition and the geometric quality of the work. It'd be interesting to learn more also about compositionally how this work was structured and developed. Another thing that's really interesting is this, it feels like a peaceful, sunny, bright image. And when I first saw the work, I didn't even realize that there was a tornado in the background. And then that sort of brought a whole nother feeling to the work and added a level of tension and a level of danger to the work. And also the way that tornado was echoed in this ribbon that's sort of hanging from this. I don't know if it's an arrow or what exactly this form is here. But I like the way that sort of played off of that storm that was coming in the background. But just beautifully composed and just layers of color and just really intricate color relationships that are developed as well. Lauren, would you like to speak about the work at all?
Sure. I'm very interested in, besides doing natural imagery, I've worked on some industrial images, and I've painted like 1930 factories. And so I kind of went through this phase where I was interested in that subject matter. But this painting in particular, it's a composite. It's not any real place. It's a totally made up world. And I really like the whimsy of Annie M in the background in the movie, The Wizard of Oz. And, it's kind of strange and unusual. And I really enjoyed composing it. And to me, that vent figure is representative of an actual person figure, very stable, but there is something coming in the background that's a little scary, so it all kind of evolved in a kind of natural way. And to me, it has like I said, a real whimsical feel to it, which I enjoyed. And I do build up a lot of different layers of paint, which I love. I love color a lot. Yeah. So thank you.
Yeah, it's beautiful work. Thank you. I appreciate looking at it.
Thanks.
All right, this next piece selected is by Richard Nyworth. And this piece was this work was captivated me by the color, and then just all these different layers of sort of vibrant paint color that sort of added out to sort of to create averages of temperatures. But everywhere you look, there's these rainbows that are built up, so I really appreciated all of that color work and all of just the different applications. There's different splatters and there's scrapes and there's more thickly applied applications. Another thing that was really interesting was compositionally how there were these two figures walking away from us that acted as sort of brackets or columns within the piece. And then also the three figures walking towards us, their faces and their bodies aren't necessarily clearly painted or highly developed, there's this feeling of time passing, this feeling of movement and energy. And I really appreciated that quality within the work. I started just thinking about past, present, and future, and how people move around and how we all move around, you know, in our day-to-day lives, and it just sort of captivated that energy. Also, even where the sketchy quality of where forms sort of dissolve, or different colored line work is used. There's a lot of just beautiful moments of texture and color and line color that are used, and it's a really exciting piece to look at. Yeah. This is a photo by Raphael Warshaw. And the one thing that really was so captivating about this image when I first saw it was that it was so color and texture forward that I really didn't understand what I was looking at for a few seconds. And then also the way that the line of the water meets with the sort of the line of the algae that sort of develops on this this big plank of wood, and it sort of runs into the green of it. It kind of created like almost like this visual noise or this collapsing of space that happened. And then even the forms in the background, the way that the sun lights them, there aren't cast shadows. So it's sort of this frontal, like Manet-like light, which also flattens the space to a certain degree, which decreases that feeling of depth. So it becomes a very flat, textured, colored image. I just thought that it was just beautifully. And also another thing that captivated me was also the colors, the beautiful, rich, dark bluish purples on the wood, and you know, the little spots and speckles of white on those rusting metallic forms in the background. So it was just a really, you know, it's a lot of eye candy to look at, and just even thinking about, you know, what it is that's being depicted here and how it's cropped and sort of what's focused on. There's not a boat here. There's not a picturesque landscape. It's really focused in on these textures and colors. And I love how it's something cropped in a way and focused on that I wouldn't have necessarily focused on, but it's so beautifully arranged. So yeah, great job. All right, the next piece is by Jack Hornaday. And this piece was just I can tell that this person loves moving paint around, and I just appreciated the way that the paint strokes with this rough brush were just pushed around, and also in some areas where it looks like tape was being used. So you know, there's these taped edges, and there's all this sort of like noise that appears throughout, and I have a feeling that that's part of the building process and the tools that are being used, and all of that sort of working its way into being left in the piece, which I like. There's one thing I like is to see kind of how things are made. So revealing that building process within the work. And I have the feeling that a lot of this noise is evidence of different tools that are being used to build the image. And also just the touch and just sort of the economy of some of the brush strokes. And thinking about how much is being described, right? Like how much is enough to being described, being economic with how much you use to put down to be able to, and then letting the viewer to be able to figure out and fill in the rest of the information. I thought it was a great you know, use of economy as well within the making of the work. But yeah, it's a beautiful painting, beautiful color, beautiful shapes, geometries. So this piece by David Mosher, you know, it was really interesting just texturally when I looked at the work, just thinking of the textures of the walls and the colors of the walls and the decay of the space and of these objects of the suitcases, and also the colors, the sort of the way that the colors in the background played against the colors of the forms of the suitcases was just beautifully matched. And then I started thinking about just sort of like how sort of rickety the table is, and how, you know, this table could collapse, and even this building looks like it could collapse and all of this could come crashing down at any moment. So there's an element of sort of danger or an element of decay, which, you know, relates to us thinking about our own mortality. And I also think about the these suitcases, and I think about you know, people buy suitcases to travel and go on vacation and have a good time and have new and wonderful experiences in the world oftentimes. And just thinking about the passage of time and just thinking about the lives that have been lived and what people have done with these suitcases and where these suitcases have been. I start thinking about all these sort of things when I look at this image. It's just it's a very powerful image. It also reminds me of I don't know if any of you know the still life painter. He paints a lot of books. His name is John Petto. He's an East Coast painter, but he did these paintings of boxes of books, and it's very similarly arranged to these. So I thought of him as well when I looked at this painting. Beautiful image. All right, and this is a piece by Will Scott, Waterman's House. And one thing I really enjoyed about this piece when I looked at it was sort of the geometry of it, and that sort of triangle that's sort of right in the middle of the composition. Also, these sort of soft brackets of the trees that are on either side of it. And just the way that the line of, say, the tree line there interacts with the bottom of that can be drawn across to complete that triangle line, the bottom line of the triangle. Also, the way that these the kayaks sort of mirror the colors in the sky, and then also the colors of the building and of the trees and of that sort of midsection for the middle one, and then the lower one, how yellow matches the yellow in the grass. So I thought that was a great reflection of what was going on within the color structure within the scene. So I thought it was beautifully designed and displayed geometries, and also use and mirroring of color. So that was another piece I really enjoyed looking at.
Thank you so much, Mark. Do we want to go ahead and open it up to the group? I know that there are a couple of artists on the call who did not get a chance to talk about their pieces. But does anybody have any questions for Mark also?
I have a question, actually. Mark, I'm really interested to know what your process was with choosing all the work. Did you try to start with one and kind of find just a whole variety, or did you just choose like whatever was your favorite? Because I remember hearing there was over 400 pieces that were entered. Yeah, that's really tough.
Yeah, it was extremely difficult, because the first thing I kind of went for is a sort of intuitive feel and also sort of visual impact, like something that just grabbed me and sort of pulled me in and took my time and energy. Like it just required my time and energy to sort of figure out more information. So that's one thing that I really looked for, was just a curiosity and wanting to learn more about the piece and how it was made. So that was sort of like my first. And then there were additional things like just like how beautiful a piece was, or how confusing was, a sense of confusion and making me sort of answer certain questions. There was also just a love of manipulating media, and a love of and curious work that combined and manipulated media in different ways was also really interesting to me. Also, the formal qualities of work, how it was structured, how it was built up. And or also even just a combining of imagery in an interesting way to evoke certain feelings, or even a clever combination of different materials and media was another thing that I was sort of drawn in by. So lots of different things in sort of selecting it, but it was really hard. It was so hard to get it down to that sort of 60-ish number. It was painful actually to sort of select at a certain point, but I had to do.
That was really cool to hear your thought process about all that. Thank you.
Sure, thank you.
And then Amelia in the comments said, "Thank you, Mark, for your perspectives on the pieces. Super interesting to hear what captured your attention. It seems like the element of mystery was central along with the technical execution."
Mhm. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so just sort of, for more narrative work, just sort of wanting to understand the stories involved, and get an idea of why the work was made, and for some of the ones, and for other works, it may have been that, in addition to sort of like a technical and also just finding out how people develop an image or develop sort of their formal influences as far as where they're looking at historically, and sort of who they're bringing sort of into their studio to make the work in a way. I just try to figure those sort of things out as well. That's always sort of fun to figure out, what makes people tick, and what people are passionate about within the work they're developing.
Okay. Well, then we're going to go ahead and wrap it up again. I hope to see everybody on May 28th from 4 to 6 for our closing reception. And then get ready for Paint Annapolis, which opens June 5th, immediately after the spring member show. So thank you all very much for joining us tonight. And thank you so much for sharing your work with us. Mark, thank you.
Thanks, Mark.
Yeah, thank you all very much. It's been a pleasure. I'm looking forward to being at the show.
Yeah,
Hopefully I'll see you all there, and we can chat more about the work.
that'd be great.